And welcome to another edition of Cruise Control Motoring, your on-air automotive magazine. We've got a lot of things to discuss, so many things to discuss that Les Jackson has to come along and discuss them with me. Hey, Les, how you doing?
Very good, Fred, and you're right. We do have a lot of interesting things going on, a lot of things that are being affected by everything going on in the world, so we'll try and clarify it for you.
Yeah, we will, and we're starting off with a story from Audi. Audi just revealed its biggest, most luxurious SUV ever with automatic doors. I actually tried those out on another model.
So do they? Oh, okay.
And a glass roof that changes transparency and seats that let you feel the music. Who doesn't want to feel the music? So we'll talk about that.
I'm afraid you set the volume so high it'll shake me off the seat.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lexus is betting big on electric luxury with an all-new 3-row EV SUV. That means big, while its next-generation multimedia system turns the dashboard into a rolling digital command center.
That's what I've been looking for, you know.
Absolutely.
I've been Googling that, wondering where can I get one of those.
You'll need to go back to college and take another semester.
to turn on your AC in the car.
That's it.
But also at Infiniti, its all-new QX5 SUV is ready to go with VC turbo power, and we have some pricing information on it. So that will be interesting if you're looking for that fastback, right?
That's right. Meanwhile, Android Auto is about to bring YouTube videos directly to your car's screen while parked, they say, just as Lexus adds streaming, dash cam recording, and full-time connectivity to its newest vehicles. In other words, nobody's looking out the windshield.
No, that's true. And it seems like cars are getting more and more complex for sure. And Mazda is delaying EVs and pivoting harder towards hybrids. And Toyota says slowing its EV expansion may have saved it billions. Meanwhile, over at Honda, they are announcing their first loss ever.
Yeah, that's scary. Anyway, Jaguar, remember Jaguar, the company that
they used to make cars
at the moment? Anyway, they're reinventing itself with a radically different ultra-luxury EV strategy, while Chrysler promises affordable vehicles, and they're finally making a comeback. We're quite excited about that.
And here's an interesting story. KITT from Knight Rider, the talking car, one of the first autonomous cars, of course it was just an TV show, got hit with a New York City speeding ticket. All right, you might say, well, hey, that happens. Problem is, it was sitting in a museum hundreds of miles away.
That's interesting. And of course, wouldn't KITT, when the policeman stopped it, wouldn't KITT say, "Don't you know who I am?"
No. All that and more when we get rolling on this edition of Cruise Control Motoring.
Well, Fred, let's start off with something big.
Okay.
And there's not much bigger than the Audi Q9, and they've revealed the interior. It's called Elegance and Space, and it is every bit of that in both of those words. It's their flagship. It's 3 rows. It is quite big. First ever Audi SUV with up to 7 seats.
Yeah.
Man. Available 6-seat captain's chair configuration. I really like those.
Yep, me too.
And it's the first Audi with fully powered automatic doors.
I experienced those on
does
another
that mean
brand.
That they open without you pulling on them, right?
Well, apparently you can open them with an app, which is the height of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
but The ones I experienced on Genesis, you press a button and the door opens, but
Okay.
not all the way, because if it opened all the way,
No, it would have to be like a Rolls Royce where it opens about 6 inches.
that's what it
Um,
does.
it's got a giant panoramic roof with switchable transparency technology. I do
That
like that.
Yeah, that's been
That's
around. I've seen
that's
that
yeah,
before.
I do like that. It's got a Bang& Olufsen 4D audio system that lets the occupants feel the music.
Feel the
Uh,
music. Yeah.
that's again, it's no one's looking out the front window. Premium materials, to say the least. Natural wood, microfiber, fine Napa leather. It's just an incredible machine. As they say, it's going to be premiered for July 28th of this year.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
going to
going to
be
be expensive. I knew you were going to say
it's
that.
going to be more money than you think. But
I would say easily 150, maybe more.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, the automatic doors, you can check out my review, my Genesis review. I tried them. You hit a button, it opens. You hit the button, it closes. Personally, I found it got more in the way than anything else.
Well, yeah. Um, I I don't know. I think it's nice, but it's more gimmicky than it is
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah. I also think I'll be in charge of opening and closing my door as I
Yeah.
see fit. But hey, if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. Another thing that might make you happy, and this is an interesting trend that could go across the automotive industry, but we're going to talk about it in relation to Audi. Piano black trim. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's shiny black, usually plastic, inside cars. They call
Yeah.
it piano black because it looks like a Steinway piano that's all shined up. It was all the rage. And now Audi is moving away from the glossy piano black surfaces because of fingerprints and glare cited as complaints. And they're going to more textured premium materials. Interior usability becomes a bigger focus, and the trend is spreading across the luxury brands. I know I am just driving a new CHR from Toyota, and they have basically a rubberized material on their dash with a lot of texture to kill off that glare. There's still a bit of piano black there, but the other problem with that, it really shows scratches. I mean, if you clean
It
it,
is.
even with a clean microfiber cloth, it scratches up and it looks terrible, you know?
Well, the other thing about the piano black surfaces is because it's in a car, it looks like plastic and it looks
Because it
cheap.
is.
Well, yes, it's good plastic, but the fact is it just looks cheap, like a cheap appliance.
Yeah, it looks
Um, when in
like,
fact it's not. But
yeah, you would have it on the high speed, high
yeah,
tech egg beater or something. Yeah.
and it
Yeah,
scratches easy.
it does scratch easy. Also on Audi, they have a big tariff problem with no easy fix to it. They lack any U.S. major manufacturing presence,
Yeah,
and costs could rise significantly, according to the article with CarBuzz. There's no way to fix it easily because Volkswagen, frankly, is trying to move more of their um, production to the U.S. and utilize their factories in a way that will where they build high volume vehicles, like we told you about last week on Cruise Control Motoring. The ID4 electric vehicle, I'm not sure where that's going to be built right now, but they're moving the Atlas, more Atlas production there to the
yeah, it's a problem.
Chattanooga plant.
Yeah, I don't know if Audi could justify an actual plant here. That's billions of dollars.
Too bad they can't make a a plant that can be transported on a large transport plane and you move it wherever the tariffs are lowest.
Yeah, that's right. Move it.
A mobile plant on a
That's right.
ship or something, I don't know. I mean, remember way back when they were talking about these companies have 2 months to move their production to the US, and you and I laughed at it because it would take probably at least a half a decade at best to move your production to another country, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't. I mean, in the climate, in the economic climate currently, I wouldn't make any decisions
Yeah.
because they may be wrong.
Yeah. And, they are expensive vehicles to begin with. So it's not
Oh, there are.
they're very
Just
expensive.
people are pay the money. The people buying those, almost all of them, just aren't concerned with the cost.
Exactly.
That's my observation. I know people that buy them,
You know people.
and they don't care about the price. They just pay it.
Yep. Well, one luxury brand that is not inexpensive but might be a little bit more affordable is the Lexus brand. And of course, this week they are showing their 2027 Lexus TZ. It is an all-electric 3-row luxury vehicle. And it is the first ever 3-row all-electric SUV from the Lexus brand. It rides on a dedicated TNGA EV platform, available with a 76.96 kilowatt hour battery or a 95.82 kilowatt hour battery.
That's a lot.
Direct 4 all-wheel drive with dramatic torque shifts front to rear. Cabinets designed around the driving lounge concept. Features that 21-speaker Mark Levinson audio system, Les. I guess you can feel the sound on that one, too.
Well, you can make it loud. Also, also imagine the clarity of that sound system.
Well, yes. That's one of the,
in there. Yeah.
One of the best ways that I always thought to test a sound system is keep the volume low. If you can hear the bass and the treble at low volumes, then, it is probably a pretty good system, right?
That's right. Put it at the volume that you would normally speak, and it really does feel like the person performing is in the room with you.
Yeah, for sure. Now, also, Lexus this week talked about their new interface multimedia system. They call it the next era in multimedia. And some of the highlights of it includes it will first be revealed, by the way, in the 2026 Lexus ES. It adds AT&T 5G connectivity, a new customizable widget home screen, faster Hey Lexus voice assistant, full screen navigation now appears in the digital gauge cluster, which I don't know. Do you like that where the navigation appears right in front of you?
I do like full screen navigation, but I like it to show me some data in one portion of the screen, not just have a big map.
Okay. Built-in drive recorder dash cam functionality. This is I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this because, installing a dash cam can be hard because how do you power it? You have to run, tuck cables around to power it and all this, that, and the other thing. And having it well integrated. Frankly, I think if that was available, I would buy that as an option in a vehicle integrated.
I would too, because so many crashes are due to people, almost all of them, not paying attention,
right,
The drive recorder shows who was at fault,
Right.
what actually happened.
Right.
Uh, that's that's a real important thing when you get to the courtroom.
I would imagine also that there's some way to take the chip out and make it available, the footage, make it available in these factory models. So, but this is an interesting update to Lexus. Everyone has to keep updating. We get a lot of comments like, "Oh no, it's another thing to break. It's another thing that's going to be outdated." But this is how brands, try to promote new things. They can't keep the same old thing, right?
It's this stuff's pretty reliable if you think about it. It's good for probably on average 10 years before you start seeing problems.
Yeah.
It's not like the stuff that came out in the 80s and 90s.
Yes, which didn't work often from the factory, right?
That's right. Well, I keep thinking of the Cadillac back then that the screen just failed constantly.
Yeah.
But, it was old technology.
Old technology, for sure, for sure. So we told you a little bit about the Infiniti QX65. I actually got a nice walk around of this vehicle a month or so ago at the New York Auto Show, and it is kind of the vehicle for rebirth of the Infiniti brand. It's fastback, it's two-tone, and we have some new information on this. A starting price of $53,990 for a very luxurious vehicle. You may even be able to feel the music in this one. I know the speakers are right behind your head.
Yeah,
in the head restraint.
This is actually, I'm not going to say it's a bargain, but it's a very fair price.
Yeah, it is. When you think about the average price being $45,000 for a new vehicle, this is a very luxurious vehicle, having seen it for $53,990. So it's quite nice for sure. So a little bit of information on Infiniti. A lot of people asking in comments, why doesn't it have a V6? So far, it has the variable compression turbo 4. That's what's a similar powertrain in the Nissan Murano. Will it get a V6? I tend to doubt it, being where Nissan is, because the V6 might not have as much power as that variable compression turbo 4. So,
yeah, it's. I think this was in the mill too long ago to get such a change.
Yes.
But yeah, you never know. But the fact is, it's a powerful engine, and nobody's going to complain about hesitation.
Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Well, let's go over to a little bit of tech here over at our friends at Google. Android Auto is about to bring YouTube videos directly to your car's screen while you're not moving. This is according to an article from The Drive. I think that is great. That, I don't know, how you do it or whatever, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos, not all car related. And I find that that is typically what I do for entertainment in many ways.
I watch probably more YouTube than I do live TV.
Same here.
And maybe even as much as the premium channels. Because I watch a lot of documentaries. I watch a lot of informative stuff. I watch a lot of how-to
reviews.
Not while I'm driving.
No, but it's still a great format to learn about. How do I take something apart? Where you were like, I don't know how this comes apart. Well, here's a guy taking it apart.
This is a perfect perfect segue for you here, because imagine you're driving your 2015 Jag XK8R
Okay.
supercharged, and you have a problem where it's not going into limp home mode. I'm making this up, by the way. It's not going into limp home mode, but it's bogging down. Imagine being able to just go on YouTube
Uh-huh.
and say, you know, what do I do when a XK8 R does this? And it's likely as not, the YouTube will have somebody's video on how they went into the fuse panel or something and solved it.
Yeah. Or they'll give you 3 things to check, and
Yeah,
it will get you a lot further along. Yeah, I agree. It is still definitely one of the best formats for that. So
yeah. No,
now
I like
this
it.
this makes big sense because you're sitting in your car charging it, and it will give you something to watch. And I have to tell you a story. This is an interesting story that I'm reviewing the CHR right now, all electric. If you recall, Toyota used to have the CHR as a little hundred and something horsepower compact car. No one quite understood it. It came back now as a 2-row all electric vehicle. So I took it on a road trip
Hmm.
last weekend, and I had to charge it. And once again, the local charger was all messed up. All 3 chargers were messed up. One, the screen was scrambled, so you couldn't charge with it. The other 2, you plug it in, it's fine. And I had to use the adapter, the NACS adapter, because the other charger did not have a NACS uh, connector, so I used the
Yep.
adapter. Nothing happened. It didn't charge. So I thought, I have to get this charged. So I found, since this is an NACS car and it is on the list, I used a Tesla supercharger for the first time. And it was a great
Ah,
experience. High end place by a supermarket, by kind of like a outdoor mall sort of thing, that where you could walk around and go to shops and things like that. Really nice. Many stalls, as they call them. They call them stalls. But here's the problem: the chargers were all under V4. So they were version 3.5, version 3. These were only designed for Teslas. So the cord is only
yeah.
about 3 feet long, because all Teslas have their charge port at one location. So it's easy to back your Tesla in and plug in. The reason they're short is to prevent vandalism, and also they're liquid cooled. The cable is liquid cooled to allow the power to go through. So the charging port on the CHR is up on the front fender on the passenger
Hmm.
side. So I was like, this cord's not long enough. How am I going to do this? So it was lucky one of the stalls was out of service next to me. So I had to angle in and take 2 spots, but the one was out of service. And thankfully, there were so many spots, it didn't matter. And the one was out of service. So I managed to angle in and get the charge cable in there. Well, the thing charged completely to 100%. I know you're not even supposed to charge it to 100%, but it went so fast
But it did. It did. Wow.
in less than a half hour. That's pretty amazing. That was a good
Well,
experience.
it's also pretty lucky.
I think he should
But
just build superchargers. He should own the charging
yeah.
infrastructure and
Well,
not the cars.
there was talk about that a few years ago, but obviously it never happened. Um, but I agree. I think there should be much more standardization. We can't just have this hodgepodge of beta and VHS and Philips
Yeah. And they
disc and all this other
and a
stuff.
lot of the off-brand ones don't work. That's
No, they
been
don't
my
work.
They're just
Or
broken. And why are they
yeah,
not updated to the new connector? You know, I mean,
or they either don't work or they charge you like 65 cents a kilowatt hour.
yeah.
And that's wow, that's a lot of money.
By the way, some people say, well, why don't you buy an extension cord for that? Those are technically, they don't want them used at superchargers because they're not cooled. That obviously you can't, how are you going to cool an extension cord, right?
Yeah.
So they really don't want you using them. And by the way, they're $500. So there's another good reason not to use them. So
That's a very good reason.
just my experience on it. But I would say the version 4 model is going to have a 10-foot cable, which will fix this problem. So interesting, right?
It is. No, I'm all for using the right tool,
Right,
no matter what it is, because everybody's happy.
right. It was a good experience, and I have to say I've had plenty of bad experience at chargers, but it was a good experience.
I've had, yeah, mostly bad experiences.
So let's, as we always talk about, we spin it one way and we spin it the other. Okay, so that's electric cars and a good charging experience. But now a couple of manufacturers are talking about, was it a good idea or not to go electric? Some are delaying it. Let's talk about that. Mazda is delaying its EVs to focus on hybrids. Remember, they had a EV, I forget even the name of it, but it had 100-mile range.
Right. The
This
little
is recently.
CX-30, right? Yeah.
And it was a disaster. It's like, why are they even doing that? Probably just to stay in the California market, I believe.
Just, yeah, the Me Too thing, because it was only 100-mile range.
Outdated before it even rolled out.
And it was, yeah, just not a loss leader, but basically to put yourself in the game in California.
Well, Mazda is delaying to 2029 its first EVs, its next generation EV. It's going to focus on hybrids. It is delaying major EV expansion, and the hybrid strategy is becoming a bigger priority for them. EV demand is growing slowly, according to them, and they're just going to remain with a balanced powertrain approach similar to Toyota. Now, this is an interesting article. Toyota's chairman says slowing EVs save them billions. Remember, we talked about this a long time ago. Their Toyota chairman, Akio Toyoda, believes the company's cautious EV rollout may have saved billions of dollars rather than aggressively shifting entirely to EVs. It's interesting that I just drove a full electric Toyota, and they are bringing more into the fleet, so to speak. This was the strategy. This was the way to go, I think. And it's funny, Mazda's adopting it. But meanwhile, over at Honda, they're going to report their first loss ever. We talked about them being $15 billion in the hole over electric cars. Remember, they were developing that electric car was it with Sony, I believe?
Yes. Well, it seems impossible that we're actually talking about Honda recording a loss after 50 years or more in this country doing business. But when you invest so much money in EVs, and the goals, the sales goals aren't even approximated in reality, then you got no choice. You have to just say we've lost an awful lot of money.
Yeah. I think back to it. I mean, they're between a rock and a hard place. I mean, governments were pushing, we have to have electric cars by 2030. I think the incentive thing maybe was just a big mistake to do that for the government incentives. And you got to let people figure it out on their own if they want it or not, And key to that is having a great experience with charging and infrastructure. If they don't do that and they feel they're being forced into it, they're not going to want to buy it, And
That's right.
so
That's right. And if they do buy it and they run into problems like charging, like the incentive goes away, they're not going to buy another one.
right, right. You have to let the
So yeah,
and let's face it, they're getting better, and we said they would get better, and they. I also had someone this week say, "Oh, that must be slow. It's an electric car." It's not slow. I will tell you, after driving it on the
no,
highway, it is not slow.
no. If you think an electric car is slow, you are 40 years behind the curve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not. Frankly, I never thought electric cars were slow. Even electric golf carts were fast. Don't you
Well,
know?
no, golf carts, of course, are limited to
But
how
they have
fast they
good
can go.
pickup. I never thought like when
Oh,
I
they
got in
do.
one of
They
those,
do.
I thought, well, this really goes right away if I hit the
And
pedal.
when I drove when I got the EV1, the GM EV1 back in '96, the first electric car that they made, I really, I was anxious to just lay my foot into it because I wanted to see how an electric motor would perform with powering a car with 26 batteries, 26
Right. Who
lead
wouldn't want to
acid
try it?
batteries.
Yeah.
And it was impressive. I mean, it really for the technology of the time, it was it would throw you back in the seat.
Yeah.
And it surprised everybody that got in it. But you can only do it a few times because the range was 80 miles.
I would say I still feel that way when I'm in an electric car. If I'm like, I'm going to pass this truck that's in the center lane going 40, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're going way fast, and you're like, wow, I just expended some energy there. But right now, if you have one, get yourself a level 2 charger at home if you can.
That's right.
Because that is the best of all worlds. Keep it topped off like your cell phone. Just keep topping it off,
You just top it off. You put a 50 or 55, 60 amp breaker in there and the right size wire. It's inexpensive, relatively.
Yeah.
And it's like running your dryer all night.
Not that I've ever done that, but that's what it's like. Yeah.
But it's cheaper. It's cheaper than gas would be in your other car.
Absolutely. Yes.
Especially now. But.
Exactly. Well, let's talk, while we're on electric cars, let's talk about Jaguar. Jaguar officially announced that their new electric vehicle will be known as the Type 01. The prototype was known as the Type 00. So this is kind of the official coming out party, I guess, for that vehicle. I don't know how much of the prototype will be in the Type 01, but we do know something new, to proof that electric cars are not slow. 986 horsepower and 958 pound-feet of torque are the numbers.
Okay, so that is definitely potent.
Yes, definitely potent.
That'll be the fastest Jaguar ever made.
Yes. I still think about what putting this drivetrain in certain vehicles and going to Bonneville in them. I think that would be great.
I want to see this. Yeah. It's time to take them out there and
The only problem
crank them up to 250 miles an hour.
you have to go straight one way and you have to go back the other way, I think within 45 minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. You'd have to have 2 battery packs to do that.
That's right. You're going to run out of electricity.
Yeah. But super stuff. It'll be interesting to see. What will it do for the brand? I am not sure, really. I don't know. It is a little bit of a head scratcher, so we'll have to see. Over to Chrysler. Chrysler is right now a one vehicle brand, right? Which is not great. They did kind of do a light refresh, a semi-light refresh on the Pacifica, where they put in a new front end, new modern headlights. They've done some packaging on the inside, but that's it. That's all they have. The Chrysler 300 went away a long time ago, and they announced this week that they have more affordable vehicles on the way, and they are looking to rebuild their lineup. Now, we don't know what these are. We can prognosticate. Do you think they should bring out a 2-seat sporty car? Do you think they should bring back a sedan? What do you think? Should it be electric powered? Should it be gas powered? Should it be a plug-in hybrid? Should they build something off the minivan platform?
I think hybrids would certainly be in the picture. I think a good, cost-effective, smaller car might sell quite a bit, as long as they don't call it, the Valiant.
I think what we're going to see is they will leverage Jeep's Wagoneer and their electric version as well, and make a very luxurious version of that. I think that's one strategy. Another strategy might be, don't laugh, because it will be a new version out, but they could take the Durango and build that into a high-end luxury SUV. Sure. We got to remember, Stellantis wants to do this, but they may not be clean sheet approaches. Maybe they will, but I think they're going to look for quick hits to fill up the inventory.
I think you're right. I think they'll use some Alpha architecture. I think
that's a great idea.
Some Fiat. That's it's a smart thing to do. And you can really make something totally different.
What about Peugeot? Peugeots have beautiful vehicles.
That's right.
They're part of
Peugeot.
The group. Are they part of the Stellantis group? I believe they are, aren't they?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And they're very, very inventive car company. They've done things no one else does, and they're very, very clever stuff.
Yeah. So I think they're going to leverage, what they have in the inventory to start with. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, well, we'll have more new cars besides the minivan in, 5 years." Like I say, now it's 5 months. You have to have the stuff for 5 months.
We got to have something by this time next year for sure.
Yeah. I want to do.
And the Chrysler. Just a word about the Chrysler 300. That was one heck of a good car.
It was a great deal.
I don't think it's ever been appreciated as much as it should have been.
Yeah. I agree. Just talking about minivans, there's a dealer, I believe they were in California. The person made a deal on the Carnival, which is their Kia's kind of minivan that looks like an SUV. They went back to, do the final paperwork and all that. The dealer added $8,900 and some odd dollars to the price. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Well,
because the Carnival's hot right now, but how do they do things like that and expect people to just say, "Oh, okay, let me rewrite that check"?
there are people who will fold in those situations. They'll say, "Well, I don't like it, but I guess I'll do it."
Yeah,
Um,
that is
boy,
sad.
you've lost a customer.
Yeah, I would say like, well, I'm not doing that. You never told me that, and I'm not doing
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
There's something you can do with that car in some place you can put it. But
that's right.
we'll leave it right there.
Let me
So,
hand me that paperwork. Let me show you a trick that I can do with it.
does it involve
That
rolling it somehow?
that you may not enjoy, but I will.
Yeah. So let's go over to this IIHS speeding study story. It's called America's Speeding Crisis. It comes from Autoblog, this article. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety released a study claiming automotive advertising may encourage dangerous driving and speeding. Researchers reviewed nearly 3,000 vehicle ads from 2018 to 2020 across TV and social media, and 43% of the ads highlighted speed, power, maneuverability, traction, stopping ability.
Yep.
Now, if you ever watch closely, you'll see close course, do not attempt, little disclaimers on the bottom. And they were much more ads that kind of promoted speeding message were much more prevalent than things that talked about functionality, comfort, convenience, styling, that type of thing, even escape and adventure themes. So the feeling is that these ads encourage speeding. Now, I have my takes on this. I remember, and we're going to get to a story that will relate to this. I remember some guy telling me, "Don't you love watching those chase movies? Because the best thing about it is as soon as I'm done watching that movie and I go out of the theater, I want to drive just like those guys in the theater."
Oh yeah.
And I said, I don't. That's professional drivers on a controlled environment.
That's
And
right.
some of it is Hollywood tricks and camera angles and that. And now AI. And I said, that's not, they're there to entertain. They're not there to encourage. And the guy was like, he didn't know what to say. And unfortunately, I believe this may be true, that people are influenced by this stuff. And
I think you're right. Yeah, because we know how to drive like that. I mean, we've done it, but we do it on tracks, and we do it. We don't do it at the local Kmart parking lot.
right. Or, yeah, on your way to work in the morning. I mean,
Yeah,
they,
and yes, and these ads. Well, they appeal, of course, to the younger drivers mostly, but there's just too much very, very major control issues in these scenes that you're watching, and you really have to know what you're doing. And if you're a fairly novice driver, or you've only been driving a few years and you've never done any performance driving, and you try it, you're going to crash.
yeah.
I promise you, you're going to crash. It's no way around it.
It's not just not just ads. It's also movies and games. And a matter of fact,
oh boy,
yeah, California Highway Patrol calls that people darting in and out between cars. They call that computer game style driving, because obviously it doesn't matter on a computer game. If you wipe out, you just reset the program. But I always, probably being in the media world, I know what you're seeing is, I won't call it fake, but it's not real either.
It is highly edited, highly contrived, highly controlled, and it doesn't reflect
right.
how many tries were done before you got it right.
It's also designed to make you feel excited, designed to make you feel like, oh, I hope he gets away, or wow, look at that. And
that's right.
Unfortunately, that is, some people don't realize that you are an advertising by nature. You are being directed to do something, right? And they don't realize that. To this point, TV shows and movies and things. So Peacock, the streaming network of NBC, has announced there's a Fast and Furious TV series coming. And it is developing a new series, and it is from a report of Car and Driver. They're developing a Fast and Furious television series, so probably that will lead to more on-road driving escapades.
Well, it will. It will. It has to, because people see these things and they think they can do it, and you have no idea how many things you break in your car learning to do this, and how many tires you go through.
Well, I always said that when you see certain brands spin their cars around, do spinning burnouts and that, you're ruining a brand new car. You're beating the heck out of it. You're ruining the tires. And let's just face it, it's not the best thing to do that in any mechanical thing, like, let's see if we can run it at, the way it's not supposed to be used. But
that's right.
I know, and cue all the comments like, "Oh, you guys should be into this stuff. You're car guys." I'm into making them work, making them, drive well. I'm not into like beating them into the ground. That's some other websites.
Have you ever made a J turn in your own car?
No.
I've done it not in test cars, but at tracks where special cars are provided,
right?
And they're reinforced for that kind of punishment,
right?
And it's still, it's still hard to do. Look great, in when you see it in a movie, or you see it in the old James Garner TV series,
right?
But he went through, I believe it was 78 Camaro Firebirds.
Firebird formulas. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he was a good driver. He was
a race car driver. Yes.
He was a race driver.
He knew what he was doing. Yeah. It's well, hey, there we have it. Well, let's go over and talk about a couple of interesting situations that involved problems and recalls. The Ford Maverick Hybrid all-wheel drive is a vehicle people waited for a long time. Great vehicle, somewhat affordable, but they had a problem where the all-wheel drive system struggled in slippery conditions. Well, that's not exactly what you want.
That's kind of important not to do it.
Yes. Yeah. So they updated the Maverick Hybrid all-wheel drive software. Earlier tested showed poor slippery road performance. Company says the issue has been corrected, and the hybrid all-wheel drive system remains key to Maverick's sales points. And they responded to criticism quickly. So I don't know if that's a recall or it might be. It's just a calibration and software change, which is no big deal.
Yeah. It's like a customer readjustment, I think is what they call it.
Okay.
It's this, and it's of course it's a self-made recall.
Yeah, well,
from the factory.
I would want to get that. That's a great little vehicle.
There are other companies that might have just put a sticker on the window on the
well-worded legal sticker, yes,
sun visor that says "Do not use in slippery conditions." but,
right next to the all-wheel drive badge. Yeah. That's another thing. I wonder if certain ads where people are shown like climbing rocks and that, do someone take the truck out and get stuck? Probably. Well, here's an interesting recall from Ram. 12,000 Ram HD trucks were recalled because they can go too fast for their tires. Now, we know tires or you have a certain speed that you can
Yes.
go in certain tires, and velocity rated tires
Right.
can go.
H
Yep.
rating, and it's on the sidewall of the tire. That's 80 miles an hour, sustained driving.
Well, some of
That's as
these,
low as you can get away with in the U.S.
and when you see speed electronically limited on a vehicle, it typically means
Yep.
because it will outrun the tires. And so
Yes.
this happened to 12,000 trucks. It's an easy fix. Once again, the speed limiter is changed. It was set too high, and it is probably, it might even be an over-the-air thing, or maybe it's dealers. I think dealers, you have to take it back to the dealer to get them to update that. But interesting that you could do that and have a problem. Let's talk about a Jeep recall, Jeep Cherokee recall. Jeep is recalling Cherokee SUVs. Power transfer unit may fail, could lead to loss of drive power. Thousands of vehicles are affected between the 2019 and 2023 model year. That is not a good one to have, is it?
It's not a good thing, and they had this problem with the Cherokees back in the mid 2000 to 2010 time period.
Wow.
This very problem, and they attributed it to the problems with the thing getting associated to the then new uh, automatics, automatic
Okay.
transmissions.
Okay.
But I remember this problem. It's deja vu. It's back.
But it is certainly not one as easy as some of the other ones we mentioned where it was a software thing. This is
Yeah.
probably, this is something you cannot do yourself. This is major work, I would
No,
say.
no, no. You just have to go in and let them install the software
Whatever
and
they,
hope it works.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Cadillac's EV sales. You know, GM was talking like they're going to go all EV, although they've kind of suddenly moved away from that. And they're bringing back things like the Camaro with gas engine power and all that. But apparently, Cadillac EV sales have reached record levels. The Lyric and other EV models are helping growth of the luxury brand. Luxury EV adoption remains strong. And
Yeah.
we said they may be high-end luxury vehicles and basic electric cars and nothing in the middle that will be filled by hybrids and
Yeah.
regular gas vehicles.
I think we're going to stick with that prediction because I think that's the way it's going to go, at least for the foreseeable future.
Well, we did well with the Toyota was smart to stick with hybrid
Yeah.
idea. So, well, you think about it. You said you have friends that had Teslas and they weren't happy with them. There are a lot of other choices out there. You said there's 90 of them,
so
right?
many choices.
So this
So
could be
many
one of them.
choices, and Cadillac is a good one.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't buy one because I don't like styling. I
Okay.
haven't liked their styling for a number of years, but that's that's the individual. The cars are terrific. The Lyric is actually beautiful. I was thinking of others, but they're pricey. Hey, but at that level, people that are interested can most likely afford it.
Yeah.
And GM, has kind of gone against the grain of the rest of the industry, wherever the other companies are kind of taking it easy and winding down some of the products. GM is just running.
I kind of think some of that is it is the lumbering giant. They got into electric cars early on, and now they can't get out of them too easily.
That's right. Oh yeah,
too
Yeah.
easily. I mean, they are. I know. Here come the comments. Yes, they are bringing out a brand new V8 with bigger displacement. Yes, they are still building plenty of hybrids and probably not plenty of hybrids, but plenty of gas-powered vehicles. So, hey, one vehicle I remember going to the launch of and I liked a lot was the Kia Stinger. Of course, that went away a couple of years ago, but there are rumors that it could possibly return. Kia enthusiasts are pushing for the return of the sporty vehicle, although the EV strategy complicates the development. They could bring it back as a hybrid. What do you think? Would that be a good deal to bring that back? It was kind of a premium sporty car from Kia. It had a lot of Audi design in it. Their designer was from Audi at that time.
But the problem there is it was basically the size of a Kia K5, and the K5 GT model is basically does everything the Stinger did.
Oh, that's a great point.
And I would, if I were at Kia and we were discussing the Stinger model, my first question would be, well, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a smaller, like a little sports sedan, like the K4, to go after BMW? If you take the Stinger's platform size, you're going up against the K5 GT, and that is one really potent machine. Great handling, plenty of power.
Yeah, probably put in the lineup to sort of replace the Stinger. Yeah. I don't know. Business case. I wonder business case for the new Camaro, but it's going to come out, and I think it's just a Ford Chevy thing. Mustang sells well because it's one of the only pony cars left. So I don't know. I mean, sporty cars, I don't know. I don't know where we're at with that, but you raise a great point, Les. It might not make sense because they are basically the same thing or so close. Well, here I pulled this story specifically for you. It comes from The Drive because this is just a story that you always talked about on Cruise Control Motoring. 7 Saab prototypes left behind at the factory are headed to auction. This is a collection of rare and historic Saab prototypes at the former Saab factory in Sweden. A total of 8 prototype vehicles will be auctioned. 7 are Saab prototypes, and 1 prototype is the Hengqi 5 crossover. This is developed by Nevs. Remember Nevs? They were going to take over. 3 of these Saab vehicles are 2014 Saab 9.3 gasoline-powered prototypes. They were intended to bridge the gap. They were going to sell old cars while Nevs developed future EV models. And there's a pre-production Saab 9.3 EV planned that was planned for Chinese production, an all-wheel drive EV version, and a self-driving autonomous Saab prototype, and a range-extended electric version. They're scheduled to go to auction on May 21st through a Swedish auction company.
Wow.
Ooh, I can't pronounce their name. My question is, you can't drive them. Normally, prototypes get smashed here because they're better off flattened than hanging around. But I guess some museum will buy them, right?
Well, museums or collectors, certain collectors will buy those. There are a lot of big Saab enthusiasts, most of whom are engineers or have engineering backgrounds, and I can see those things being sought after real hard.
How about the GM Saabs? Remember that? Where the plan was to lose $5,000 on every vehicle sold?
That's right. That's the Saab story of the 90s.
Wasn't one a Subaru as well? It was a Subaru rebadged as a Saab sold through GM.
Yes, that's right. It was Subaru's platform.
Wow.
or Subaru was using a Saab 9.3 platform,
Wow.
and it didn't go well. It almost never does. but yes, the GM Saab story, they lost serious money at the same time that Ford had bought Jaguar, and they lost a couple $1 billion. And I remember talking to a Ford representative back then, and he was saying, "Well, we just didn't do our homework when we bought them." And I said, "No, you just bought them too early.
Yeah.
If you had paid that kind of money a few years later, it wouldn't have
would have
hurt
been
so
good.
much."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about tickets next. Nobody likes to get a ticket, but apparently
That's
tickets
right.
are being given out. So this comes from Motor Trend. California police could soon ticket driverless vehicles for traffic violations. They are exploring enforcement rules for autonomous vehicles, and police may gain authority to ticket driverless vehicles. Of course, a lot of regulations continue around, autonomous vehicle technology, and legal responsibility remains a major issue. So, California, according to this article in Motor Trend, California police could soon ticket driverless vehicles for traffic violations. Okay, there are a lot of autonomous cabs in California. But if there's no driver, and let's say this thing is just driving somewhere to pick someone up, who do you ticket? You can't ask for license and insurance
No.
and registration.
Well, it seems to me that if I'm the owner of the company that owns the autonomous cab, I'm responsible for the safety of the passengers and the safety of the way these things are driven.
Uh-huh.
So I'm therefore liable if tickets get generated.
Now, this works. It
but
works if there's an automated camera. Sure, it does that. But how
yeah,
would a cop do it? There's nobody to sign paperwork. There's nobody.
I don't. I can't even imagine the cop being able to pull it over.
Right, it's not going to stop. It doesn't know what lights are.
It's just going to keep driving.
What is he going to pit it and like flip it around to give it a ticket? I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know. It's a good question, and I'm really not sure about this. I do think the autonomous cars will be bigger in cabs and things like that, but I don't know. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. It's a weird one for sure. It is a weird one. It's a dilemma. For sure. Now, here is a story about a vintage autonomous vehicle. If you remember Knight Rider, the car KITT, it was a talking car that had, let's face it, kind of an AI persona.
It was it had a thinking persona.
It could drive itself.
Converse.
Yeah. And it was a popular show.
That's
David
right.
Hasselhoff was the lead in the show.
He was the heartthrob.
Yeah, he was the heartthrob.
And you never hassle the Hoff, as they used to say.
Yep, it was a Pontiac Firebird. It had a lot of Firebirds got converted to look like them with the flashing light.
And it had a bunch of screens on the dash that are very reminiscent of what we have on our dashes today. Except
I agree.
None of them worked. But
now, what is the point of this? Not just reminiscing about a TV show. The original Knight Rider car is sitting in a Chicago museum. But according to this article in New York Post, last week it was ticketed with the license plate KITT was ticketed in a Brooklyn school zone for speeding by a traffic camera. And the article's like, it says, well, what happened here? And some people were saying maybe Kit just wanted to go out and go for a drive and ended up in Brooklyn all the way from Chicago. But it's a $50 speeding citation. The Volo Museum in Illinois received this citation from New York City, alleging the vehicle was caught driving 36 in a 25-mile-an-hour Brooklyn school zone. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I imagine this can happen pretty easily. They, for a number of years, they actually sold a kit to turn your Pontiac into a kit. It had, the duplicate of the screens inside, and it had
flashing light in the front.
The flashing lights around the front. Had recorded voice of Kit.
But what about the license plate? Did someone copy the license plate and they're using a fake plate?
There's the thing. No, it had to. I'm sure that they would put a copy of a license plate at a show, but they clearly had to license this thing to the street. Might have forgotten it. Shouldn't be very hard to find it in Brooklyn because there can't be too many of them registered.
No, I think it's something like that. I think someone was running a fake plate, and
I think it's just kind of a charming thing.
It is.
Nobody was hurt. It's a whimsical situation.
I agree. And on that note, we're going to say we hope you enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control Motoring. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staub.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road.